first tournament, Dusk Road. I am Calimdir, also known as Gabe, and I'm joined here by Sir Rhino.
Hello. So we just had a very exciting round one, and we're going to keep having more exciting rounds, right? Every single round, excitement or your money back guaranteed. And here we've got some of our players in the tournament, LightsOutAce and ExKirby. I'm not sure what adjective I would put in front of their names. We've got LightsOutAce, one of the more popular streamers, was at Worlds previously, did decently well there. He was my playtest partner for that, and he's bringing a really fun deck that's showing off a lot of new cards from the Dusk Road in Spellcrag. I really don't like the name Spellcrag. Like, if I hear the deck Spellcrag, I would think, oh, a Skycrag deck with all spells. Was this playing like 20 units? I think it's a little disingenuous.
Yeah, I would think, Calimdir and Cradle or something like that, but this is more of like a weird burn deck, almost tempo deck type archetype.
Yeah, it's like a burn kind of burst deck that can really grind. It's showcasing 4 Caleb Reborn, 4 Jotun Feastcaller. So Caleb Reborn is a 4/4 that whenever you cast a spell, he gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So you can do some really cool things with fast spells and bluffing in combat. And then he has an activated ultimate for 6 that you shuffle your hand away and then draw a new hand with 1 additional card. So you can kind of turn some dead cards or chaff into more cards. This deck doesn't actually activate that ability too much, but when it comes up, it's nice to have. 4 Jotun Feastcaller is the primal diesel. Every time this 4/3 Aegis for 5 attacks, you draw a card, then draw 2 cards, and draw 3 cards. So this deck kind of shores up some of Skycrag's issues where sometimes it has to 2-for-1 itself when using removal, but it's really good at reloading. On the other end, we've got ExKirby on Xenon Life Force, and it looks like this game's underway, so we're just going to have to wait to analyze that one.
Yeah, Cult Aspirant being the ideal start for ExKirby. So interesting to note that Kirby doesn't have any new cards in his main deck. It's just all he does have a couple new cards in his sideboard though, which we can talk about when we get to that.
Yeah.
But
well, I would not discount the 6 new cards in his main deck. Yeah, 6 Waystones. As Xenon did not get any crests or things like that, but Amber Waystone and Amethyst Waystone are arguably the 2 strongest Waystones. So
yeah, especially in that
they're all pretty strong. But yeah, we see Kirby's got a pretty aggro start, but so does LightsOutAce with this charging Skycrag, Nimble Numble, and a Polymorph, a Torch, and a Permafrost in hand. But yeah, LightsOutAce is facing down some rapidly growing Cult Aspirants here.
Yeah, double Cult Aspirant draw is a little rough for Ace. He's got Torch, Polymorph, and Permafrost, so he's got answers. But if a Katra comes down, this which Kirby has in his hand, that Sanctuary Priest is still going to be on board, and there isn't really much Ace can do about it other than he's going to Polymorph Katra herself.
Yep, but Kirby is stuck on 3 power here, draws another Katra for the turn, so those aren't going to be doing much for a while. He opts to go Vera's Choice to face, thinks he can race this Yeti, and I think that's a reasonable thing, and gets rewarded by taking out a Caleb Reborn.
Yeah, I also think that Vera's Choice just gets much more value hitting LightsOutAce's hand than it does hitting so many valuable charge units, and there's Aegis units and things like that. Some very powerful units. So getting them out of hand before they can be casted is really useful.
Yeah, can you imagine Vera's Choice hitting the Jotun Feastcaller when the rest of the answers in your deck can't even touch it although this is Interrogator Life Force, so you do have some Xenon initiations and things like that.
Initiation very good against a 4/3 with each.
Yeah, and speaking of Interrogator, that is the draw for ExKirby here. So this is a style of Life Force that we have seen in the past. There's a lot of different ways to figure out how to build Life Force. We've seen Dawnwalker be the addition to the package, or Interrogator Killers hybrid with Life Force. I think going forward, we could see Nightfall combined with Life Force as well. There's always seems to be something. It's Life Force plus something else that you see, and Kirby's going with the Interrogator line. The draw for turn is Xenon Initiation. can 2-for-1 himself, but he's giving up his only life force enabler by doing so.
Yeah, I don't love this play, but I mean, I suppose you have to do something. And now
Yeah.
Ace just has stone nothing. Yeah, I was thinking that Ace was gonna polymorph the Cult Aspirant way back, but then I remembered, this isn't Combat, that's not Awakened Student, because typically you don't want to Permafrost Awakened Student if you don't have to, because Desert Marshal or Valkyrie Enforcement down and unleash it, but not with the Xenon deck. And now we just have a little Catra just scoping out the field, seeing what's going on.
Yep. Ace is debating on if he wants to use a polymorph or an obliterate on this Catra. You definitely do not want your opponent to ever untap with the Catra, no matter what their board state looks like. And he's going to opt to go with the obliterate. Polymorphs are pretty nice against this deck. Yes, they're playing Xenon, Obelisk, and Catra, so they can buff up those frogs. But the Xenon deck is super synergy based. If you can answer one threat at a time, you're generally going to be favored against Life Force.
Premium Catra about to be a premium frog. That was a pretty good draw from Kirby, but Ace has been has so many answers.
Yeah, we've typically only seen Champion of Fury in Skycrag aggro decks, but that's mostly because Skycrag midrange hasn't been a thing, not because Champion of Fury is a bad mid-range card.
Yeah.
A 4-2 Overwhelm Charge is basically relevant at every point in the game, and for the low cost of 2 means this deck has the ability to, more so than almost any other deck I've played, kind of sculpt its hand, build out a game plan, and then just burst you down from like even 12 to 18 health. Even if a situation like this where LightsOutAce just has one Caleb in play.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have to play Champion of Fury on turn 4 for it to be good. I'm pretty sure Kirby's just dead here, right? He's got the Ion, but even that just chumps. But yeah. Champion of Fury is so powerful just as a burn spell in these mid-range decks, like you said. It trades with so many units if you're trying to survive. Like, it doesn't need, you don't need to always be attacking every turn with war cries and things to get the value like you do with more.
That last turn, LightsOutAce could have went for lethal by polymorphing the Cult Aspirant that was in play, by having a 5/5 Caleb swing into his 5 health. And that would have also played around the Ion coming in that was buffed by Obelisk, because now both of these Calebs traded with these Ions. And now LightsOutAce went from having lethal on board to being in top deck mode against a deck with 2 Xenon Obelisks in play with just a polymorph in hand. And now ExKirby is going to take this game over.
Yeah, well, I was busy rambling on about Champion of... I missed the Xenon Obelisk, and that completely turned this game down.
Yep, because now, LightsOutAce can give Kirby a 3/3 frog that might turn into a 5/5 frog soon. And now this Champion of Fury not quite as impressive. The powers of draw here for Kirby gets him a bit closer to 8. And obliterates the draw for LightsOutAce, but that Ion, the damage has been done. That life gain is putting Kirby well out of burn range.
Yeah, Champion of Fury, a lot less impressive when it dies to a mere frog.
Yeah. Yep, Polymorph is a strong card, but less so when you're up against a deck that has a bunch of obelisks and way to augment its unit. It's really nice against, standalone time decks or threats like Tavrod and Sandstorm Titan. Less so in this matchup, even though it is still a very nice silence.
I love this play. I love the just... I'll go to 1. Go ahead. See what happens.
Yep, Kirby takes another damage from that Nightfall trigger, but draws an extra card, which will also draw him more cards and give him more damage in Auric Interrogator. The cool thing is Life Force has a decent amount of life gain, so it can offset all of these damage triggers generally from Interrogator and things like that. And Vadius will be able to give himself a Chakram next turn if LightsOutAce decides to not chump block this frog. We'll see if Kirby swings with it or not. But he won't have any evasion, so he would... I don't know. LightsOutAce is hoping to draw... Ooh, Caleb's Choice can take out an Obelisk here, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and key that he can... that Ace can activate Vadius, Ultimate Vadius, and use Caleb's Choice. Otherwise, it wouldn't be that valuable.
Yeah, and let's see. Kirby drew Vera's Favor off of this Interrogator, not great. And LightsOutAce opted to not swing with the Champion of Fury because if Interrogator blocked Champion of Fury, not even Caleb's Choice blows that out.
And also, if then he just doesn't have a blocker, and if Interrogator lives through the turn, Ace is just dead.
Ooh, all right. Katra the draw here. Kirby has the Varus favor to activate it unless, and yeah, wisely targets the Yeti. As if he targets anything else, it pops Aegis and doesn't trigger Katra.
Hey, he could have targeted Interrogator. Or
Yeah,
himself.
yeah, he could have targeted his Cult Aspirant. I would have liked that one, actually. So now LightsOutAce has to decide if he wants to use Caleb's Choice here to deny a +1/+1 trigger. Would rather use Caleb's Choice to take out probably the +2/+2 from Zenith Obelisk.
But Kirby not going to make any attacks.
Ooh, and draws Banish off of this Interrogator, and that's going to make it very hard for LightsOutAce here. Powder Glider, the draw for turn. In comes the Vadius, though. Kirby has to block. Will block with Katra. And here we'll see Caleb's Choice. Yeah, the double block. Nice move there by Kirby.
Yeah. Otherwise, Ace gets to keep Vadius, and then, he has a chance in this game, but this is going to be much more difficult. I think he's just dead, actually. No. He's going to play Powder Glider and have to jump.
Yeah, the thing is, he'll get this Chakram and whatever, and he ends up putting Chakram on. He'll get banished at some point, so it's going to be pretty hard for Ace to win through this banish, and this Interrogator slowly building up advantage.
Powder Glider just has to chump block Interrogator, and Kirby, while he is only at 6 life and taking a damage every turn, he still is drawing an extra card every turn and has more cards in hand. Even we know that they're just power.
Yeah, and Ace, I believe, only has. No, he has 3 Obliterates in his deck, so he could draw another one there. But that's not what happens. And no attack from Kirby.
Yeah.
Being really, really conservative here, trying to leverage this Interrogator. And will banish this Champion of Fury. He's drawing a lot of power here, Kirby is. So
okay, Kirby was dead if he attacked and then specifically charge unit was drawn and then Ace put the Chakram on it. But I feel like that's much less likely. Like that's, I don't know. I'd rather play to winning in a turn.
Yeah, I think I can agree that he's maybe being a little too conservative here. I think it's reasonable for Kirby to think the long game is in his favor, though, with these Interrogators and Obelisk going. But at some point, you do have to try and end the game as well.
Well, he's taking 2 damage a turn, so I would say the long game isn't exactly in his favor. He's just killing himself with these.
I mean, in Life Force, you should expect some of these draws to gain you that life back, but maybe not in this build specifically. He only has 2 devoted thirds. He's already seen a number of his Ions. So his Oasis Seekers aren't gaining him life right away. Temple Scribes. So you're really only gaining 1 to 2 life in chunks instead of huge life gain bursts. So yeah, these ticks do matter.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interrogation, a lot of questioning going on over there on Kirby's side of the field, and I'm questioning some of these decisions.
So LightsOutAce has the choice of either getting down Jotun Feastcaller, which really isn't ever going to get a profitable attack off in the face of this Obelisk and giant Interrogators, or just activate Caleb and see what he can find. And he finds a Caleb's Choice and Strategize and a Crest of Fury. Not bad. That can take out the final Obelisk here. I don't know if Caleb's Choice can actually counter any spells. There's Zenith Interrogation and Annihilate. So, yeah, it's mostly just hitting Obelisk in this matchup anyway. So we'll
question, though. Do you actually even hit Obelisk, or do you just let Kirby die to his Interrogator trigger? I think you hold it up, though.
Yeah, I think you hold it up and play defense and try and plan on these Interrogators killing them. But in comes Caleb.
So he will go up to 5 and kill the Obelisk, which will let Caleb live through combat here.
Yeah, because Caleb will get the trigger to go to 9/5 as we see. The Interrogator dies, and the other one's still active anyways. It got buffed once by Katra. So it's still 1 a turn. Now you have this Caleb that's beating down that Kirby has to find an answer to. Finds a Temple Scribe for turn, so that'll get him an extra chump blocker to get in the way of things. Deciding to swing before drawing is a little odd, I would say.
Yeah, I would have. I don't know. When you're at 10 power, I think potentially you draw a banish or something like that.
Yeah, because Banish is lethal with the Amethyst Waystone in hand. You would have hit for 5. The damage goes through Aegis from Nightfall. So I think I would have drawn first there and trying to go for lethal. But here we go. LightsOutAce finds the Levitate, and that's going to end the game.
Yeah, Kirby playing very conservative that game, and Ace able to draw into Levitate there to finish off Kirby, with both players at a super low life total for quite a while there.
And that game did a good job of showing off, though, how much this Spellcry deck can grind. Like, we were like, oh, his opponent got all of these Interrogator triggers, had double Obelisk. This game's over. And it was like, no, a couple strategizes, Caleb activations, Crests to dig, Vadius activation to help you grind. Yeah, maybe Kirby took some weak lines of play that we may have disagreed with. But at the same time, I think Spellcry did a good job of showing off just how well the Skycrag deck can get into as far as top deck quality in the late game and keep grinding.
Yeah, where instead of being like a traditional Skycrag deck where if you let it run wild, it kills you, it does kill you, but if you let it run wild, it just generates an absurd amount of advantage, which is then used. So when you get so it's, yeah, like you said, it can grind much better. Thanks, like you're more likely to actually activate Vadius and things like that. So you just have, between Vadius, Caleb, and Dollar plus extra card selection, you're just have a lot more gas in the late game. And because you don't rely on things like Cinder Yeti, Oni Ronin, whatever, just getting in early threats for your damage, you have a lot more threats that can sneak in damage on their own, and you have like Levitate and things like that.
Yeah, this deck does a great job of showing off Levitate, which is a card that I've wanted to play more of for a very long time, and it was just hard to find a nice home for it. And this deck does a lot of cool things with it in terms of just targeting your Caleb or Jotun Feast Caller with Levitate is obviously amazing. You can also target their units as an Aegis pop. That's normally where we've seen it Levitate. You can also use it as a stun sometimes because of Powder Glider. So you can give one of their units flying, play your Powder Glider, stun that unit. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with Levitate. It may end up being a 4 of in this style of deck at some point. We just haven't gotten there yet with it.
Powder Glider is great, by the way. I've been very impressed with that. I don't know how good the Spellcrag type decks are, but I don't think that Powder Glider is the card that's been underperforming.
Yeah, that was a card that it just does so many little different things. It's easy to underestimate at first. It's like, okay, stunning a flyer, who cares? Okay, it gets +1/+1. You can cast a spell. It's a 1/2 for 1. But the fact that it's doing all of these little things for 1 cost up front, it means it ends up overperforming almost every time just because of the initial investment.
Yeah. Another card that I would love to see. Apparently my audio is quiet.
We'll work on it.
Another card that I would have loved to see that isn't making an appearance here in the Spellcard deck is Kennel Master. That is a fun one, but I think that one still needs a little bit more work before it can really get into a deck.
Yeah, I am not convinced of Kennel Master yet, but I would love to be proven wrong in that one. I'm not going to be the one to do it, but I would love to see some people toy around with it.
Well, I have messed around with it a little bit, but I have them.
Yeah, it looked like Kirby was totally overhauling with their sideboard. Looked like Oasis Seekers came out, Dream Snatchers came in, so getting a more defensive style 2-drop, although quite a different cost. We're talking double shadow for this 2/3 lifesteal unit.
A Dream Snatcher?
He didn't have 3, but he had 3 in his sideboard. He just didn't craft them yet. It's well tested sideboard plan here from ExKirby. Right, nothing but the best from our ETS players.
Okay. Yeah, Dream Snatcher, one of the new cards in ExKirby sideboard that I would love to. That I love. I'm glad that we get to see it here. Not at its best in this deck. Not full Sabotage Various Choice package. No Black Iron Manacles, but it's a 2/3 for 3 with Lifesteal. Very, very good. And 2/3 for 3 Lifesteal without the rest of the text is definitely at its best in Life Force.
And here we see another new card come out of the sideboard from ExKirby, Ancient Bauble, 1 cost relic that you can once per turn pay 1 to gain 1 life.
I'm not a believer
that for a Caleb's choice
in the Bauble.
No, I mean it's a Sanctuary Priest that you can't kill except for the part where it doesn't then get buffed by Xenobelisk and Catra. There's some
Yeah.
trade-offs there.
Yeah, it's a few. And also it costs you a power every turn instead of just giving you the effect every time you play a power.
Also not so great when you're stuck on power, and that's what we're seeing here. Although now the Shadow Sigil is the draw for ExKirby. LightsOutAce taps out, but for a Daring Pioneer, so any spell that ExKirby casts here is going to get countered and kill the Daring Pioneer. So he'll have to choose which spell he wants to throw out carefully.
I think I probably would have cast Xena Initiation. I know it's your only answer to Feast Caller, but getting the 4/4 off the board right away, pretty useful. And then you have Banish to clean up something else. But I guess maybe I'm wrong. I mean, LightsOutAce does have a ton of Aegis threats in Jotun Feast Caller and Vadius, so
Yeah, again, at some point, this Daring Pioneer is going to eat a spell. ExKirby not playing Seek Power, so it's going to eat either a Banish, a Xenon Initiation, a Varus Favor, a Varus Choice. Those Dark Return, those are what it hits. It's going to take out something that matters to ExKirby.
yeah, definitely. Because Life Force is not like a super spell heavy deck. There's no cantrips, there's no strategizers or anything like that. Every spell that you have in there is very important.
Yeah.
They're few and far between, and they are high impact. Honestly, the thing that obviously Varus Favor would be okay in some situations. Dark Return getting counter would be okay, and maybe Annihilate would just make sense since you're actually be casting an Annihilate on it. But other than that, yeah, you really don't want to see any of these spells countered.
Yeah, some decks, just play Varus Favor as a nice answer to Oni Ronin or an Aegis Pop. In this deck, it's more than just that. The life gain from it really matters as a Life Force trigger. The sigil you get from it really matters as a Life Force trigger if you have Sank Priest in play. It's not some throwaway spell. As we see ExKirby draw a trio of Ancient Baubles, and it's in on the make a really, really, really big Cult Aspirant plan, which LightsOutAce has an answer to with Polymorph.
Yeah, Polymorph is going to take care of that. ExKirby can make a Triforce out of his Ancient Baubles. I don't know if that's going to get him out of here, but
yeah,
definitely something to look forward to.
I think Ancient Bauble has some potential in certain styles of Life Force decks, maybe the bigger Mask variants, if somehow those are a thing. But in these low to the ground, trying to be beatdown decks, I just don't know if Ancient Bauble is really where you want to be, especially against a mid-range style deck like LightsOutAce, where he's really putting pressure on the board every turn.
LightsOutAce over there, just look at the top of his deck. Oh, a Jotun Feast Caller. Just exactly the card I want to see right now. I guess I'll leave that there.
Skycrag,
seems decent.
Yeah, this deck is very good at finding what it wants when it wants it. This deck is a lot of times with the 75 card deck, you can't get away with 2 ofs or 3 ofs all throughout your list. Spellcrag can get away with that. It can just put certain bullets here or there, 2 of Alpine Tracker, 2 Daring Pioneers, a couple Caleb's Choices, and because of all the Levitate strategizes, Wisdoms, Caleb activations, it'll find the pieces it wants and get rid of the ones it doesn't.
Well, Kirby does have Xena Initiation, and there is an Aegis threat on the board. There is another problem, though.
Yeah. Yeah, 1/1s and 1/2s are not your ideal targets for Xenon Initiation, and instead, ExKirby decides to gain about 4 life that turn. Meanwhile, the feast begins, and another Daring Pioneer is the draw off the first Feast Caller.
It's like Kirby has 4 Sanctuary Priests.
Yeah.
Isn't it so good? Yeah, Daring Pioneer is going to just really shut the door on Kirby here. Ion, not terrible. Catra is what he needs to draw. But
sure.
Even then, there's just a Polymorph waiting in hand.
Yep, and Caleb's choice to draw here. We'll see if LightsOutAce somehow soul reads this Ion and uses Levitate pre-combat. Nope. In comes the Feast Caller after drawing, just 3 cards over these 2 turns.
Hey, I mean, Caller itself was a card.
Yeah.
And it died. That's the important part, right? Not the 3 other cards.
I'll take clean 4 for once. I'm into that. So, Granite Waystone, the draw here. This card's pretty fun in this deck because you have both Strategize and Caleb activation. So this Granite you usually don't play out. It's just a power that gives you another card that you can then just throw away to your other cards.
Yeah, that's actually pretty useful.
Oh yeah, man. We've put some science into this deck. Neon was the mad genius behind this. We were talking about it on a podcast one day about like, hey, why don't we play with Caleb and Levitate more? And then he just went off and figured out some amazing things as Kirby is just dying a horrible death here.
I think LightsOutAce is gonna kill Bobbles. I mean,
possible. That's a pretty sweet way to get lethal. Like you could chakram them to death, but why?
Yeah, why do that when you can?
There we go. See,
LightsOutAce
showing off the mechanics of the deck using Strategize to put away that Granite. And Torgov came in.
What are you doing over here?
Bodies. Hey, I mean, he's already got 8 cards in the void.
Yeah, okay, but Kirby is dead. We're at 7 power, and Torgov is still a 4/5. All right.
Yeah, but if he activates Caleb, that doesn't put cards in the void, so I don't know where I'm getting at with that.
But we're gonna see. Is that?
That's 2-0. Both
games going to LightsOutAce there, and Spellcrack moving on to 1-1.
Yeah, LightsOutAce showing off that he may still be a washed-up streamer, but he's arguably the best of the washed-up streamers. So, you know, that's important to really establish.
That was a fun match, honestly.
Yeah,
these first 2 rounds have been good fun.
Yeah, I don't know if Spellcraig's going to end up or whatever this shell is like being a tier 1 deck at any point. All I know is it's really, really, really fun to play. And so is Life Force. I think Life Force is a fun deck to play as well. So and they're strong enough.
Yeah, I think both of those decks are decks that you can play and get to Masters with. Mm-hmm. And I think that both of those decks are only a few cards away from.
Yeah, and we probably have those cards. We just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah,
like they're new archetypes. These aren't things that we've been working on forever, like your Stone Scar and Rakano aggros, or even Argenport and Praxis, which were so popular that they had a lot of work done on them. Xenon, there's so many ways to configure Life Force that nobody's really settled on. Like this is the one we're going to refine, and with same thing with Skycrag mid range. We just haven't had a lot of experience tuning that kind of archetype. So it's really exciting to see these lists.
Yeah, definitely. Do we have a minute to talk about a couple of fun Dusk Road cards that we have or have not seen? Okay.
I don't know. I haven't gotten any word from our back end yet. But is there a card that you're just dying to talk about right now?
Well, see, here's the thing: the cards I was most excited about have already been played. You know, I was really into Nocturnal Observer was my number 1. I was like really hoping that, and we saw it round 1. My big thing with it was that I think it's just good enough to be in Down Control and various other Primal Control decks. Obviously, it's very good in Scream. That's where I was kind of hoping to see it, just as an addition instead of maybe Bloodcaster in a lot of lists, which is exciting. But yeah, we also got to see, you know, Powder Glider and Caleb, which were 2 other really cool cards. And we have seen already World Bearer and Jotun Feast Caller. So a lot of the cards that I wanted to see already coming down. Have not seen any great Kiln Titans yet. I don't know if we're going to see any today.
I enjoy that card a lot. Turning it's Great Kiln Titans an 8 cost 9/7 Sentinel in fire, and my god, it at the end of your turn you flip over the top card of your deck, put it into play or play it, and that in itself is awesome. The fact that the whenever you play a relic, you do its damage equal to its cost. I've killed a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
It can, you just like slow roll your power stones and you're like, all right, these now are killing people. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, it turns a lot of your early game ramp or just cards that are dead into just game-ending bombs. When you have like multiple great Kill Titans out, it's your opponent gets obliterated. I have definitely taken 4 from a Power Stone before and been real upset.
Yeah, it's really fun too when you have the Mysterium Orb in play. If you're like all in on Sentinels and they have Overwhelm and Endurance,
yep.
it's a joke. Yeah, Sentinels is a lot of fun to play. There's a lot of different types of ways you can build Sentinels too, which is really cool. I think Direwolf Digital's done an excellent job of like not just making boring tribes that like there's one way to play them, where it's like, oh yeah, you just flood the board with all the same units and then they all make each other better. Like that's not really what's going on with these unit type decks. Like there's kind of this Sentinel Reanimator deck. There's like an Explorer Sentinel Aggro deck. There's Sentinel Bond, and then there's just like big Relic Ramp Sentinels. Like there's a lot of different ways to approach almost every different tribe you can name. Like same thing with dinosaurs.
Yeah. We saw a lot of practice Sentinels the first 2 days of set 3, but I haven't really seen much of it.
Yeah.
Mostly replaced by aReNGee. Billy being the other card I haven't seen from that deck yet. I think people are overrating it a little bit. I'm excited to see how well it actually performs.
Amelie, yeah, it's a card that it's the only diesel I haven't played with yet because I haven't figured out what home I want to put it in. Like, yeah, Valkyries are supposed to be Argentport, but that's kind of Tavrod's turf. So you have to really come up with a good deck to justify, like, all right, I built Argentport midrange without Tavrod. So, that's kind of the shadow looming over at least some Valkyrie decks. But Amelie, just because she's a Valkyrie, does not care how many other Valkyries are in a deck with her. You can figure out some other homes for her. I kind of want to explore if she's the 5-drop Huru's been wanting.
Yeah, he is. He's a powerful card.
Yeah.
It's just that he's kind of slow. That's the only problem I have with Amelie is how slow he is for being like an evasive threat.
Yeah, slow, but makes up for it. That 4/8 body, that is a big amount of stats. So I'm looking forward to people playing with him more and figuring out just what he's capable of. Because that card is scary. I've played enough with Colony Matron to know that spitting out a flyer every turn is good.
Yeah, well, Amelie may have a big booty, but nobody's thighs are as thick as my favorite card from the Dusk Road. This was day 1 of Dusk Road. I opened this in a pack and said, this is the card. Unseen Commando. That is a card we're going to see today for sure.
Oh my god, Unseen Commando taking is encroaching on Valkyrie Enforcer's turf as like auto include Justice 3-drop. Like there's always been this kind of status quo in Justice at 3. It's like, all right, you're going to play your Valkyrie Enforcer, and then are you going to play Copperhall Bailiff or Auric Sentry, or you could, you got a few other choices here. The people shows up here and there in these Justice decks at 3, but there was never a clear-cut like second in command. And now it's like there's a 1A and 1B. Unseen Commando is an incredible card.
Yeah, I love Unseen Commando. It's so good on its own. It's so good in any mid-range deck. It just gains you life and is a reasonable threat against aggro. And, a 3 damage flyer for 3 is fine against the more controlling and mid-range matchups as well. But then it just has the added bonus of being absurd in a lot of just normal Rakano and Argentport decks because those Justice just has so many battle skills. Yeah. I mean, just with cards like Rakano Artisan, just a 3/3 quick draw unit is so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And the more Unseen Commandos you draw, it buffs itself. Plus, he's a cool guy. He comes in and he tells everybody, trust in your skills, encouraging everyone. What's not to love?
And I've had a few people tell me they don't like the art on Unseen Commando, and I banned them from my stream.
Yeah,
no. I mean, come on. This is the peak of art here. But yeah, Unseen Commando. I think my favorite board state is when I have 2 Unseen Commandos going, and I know my opponent has like a handful of Vanquishes, and they can't hit my Unseen Commando even though they're hitting them for 4. And yeah, I played with Unseen Commando in Rakano, in Argentport, in Cambrai, and in Huru. All of them. If you play Justice and you like attacking and playing units, you should probably have Unseen Commando in your deck.
Yeah, if you play Mono Justice, play Unseen Commando. If you have a Justice deck and it doesn't have Harsh Rule in it, probably play Unseen Commando.
Yeah, that card is just, oh man, it's the truth. I absolutely love it. So also I've been playing around with 3-faction Unseen and Unseen Commando and Rindra in the same deck. Delicious. I've also been playing around with a Gunslinger, like Rakano Gunslinger Splashing Queen.
Bandit Queen, yes. I've heard.
Unseen Commando into Bandit Queen is very good.
It's definitely very good when all of your units get buffed by Unseen Commando.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. It's like, oh, Bandit Queen now reads all of your units get +2/+1 in quick draw. Okay, sure, that's fair. So yeah, that guy, he is a powerhouse.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Most of the decks today that we're probably going to see are things that got 1 or 2 new tools, like Stone Scar with Vicious Highwayman, Argentport with the Unseen Commando, and Argentport actually got a couple new things around, but mostly Unseen Commando is.
Yeah.
Not as much Elysium. I don't know if anyone brought that, but I do think Elysium got. People don't talk about it that much, but they got crests, and that means Champion of Wisdom is a much better.
Yeah, all the champions that got crests are better. So Champion of Wisdom's been great for me. Champion of Impulse, man, that card is now real good. I've been having some good experiences with Champion of Impulse too. So yeah, Elysian got crests. It got I think Daring Pioneer that we just saw out of Spellcrack has a shot in certain Elysian builds. I think somebody did bring an Elysian Horn deck today, so that got some new Overwhelm units, namely the Daring Pioneer. So it's a way to do Elysian's things where you're playing as many units as possible, but now you have a few more units that actually interact and mess with your opponent, which is nice.
I think now we finally have every match concluded.
All right, well then you know what to do.
Yeah, I think we're gonna take a break and then move round 3 in just a bit. So we're gonna have more exciting action, and we're gonna come back to you with a 2-0 matchup, and hopefully we'll get to see some more exciting decks. I think every deck's exciting, so I just like Eternal.
Well, Chalice still exists, so. Sorry, no, I enjoy it. I know I'm weird, but I have a sick mind, I believe.
I'm excited for Temporal Control versus Chalice when we come back after these messages.
Yeah.